I'm joined by independent reporter Heather Mullins. Heather, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about the state of election integrity heading into November of 2024. Big election, obviously. A lot went wrong 4 years ago. How do you feel about where things are right now?
I actually feel great. I feel so great going into this next set of elections, and I can tell you as somebody that's been investigating the election integrity space since the 2020 election, that a lot has changed. It is not the same landscape going in this time. We've won a lot of battles on the state. On the state level, the legislatures all across the country have passed laws tightening up security, and it's an entirely different ballgame. And we learned a lot from 2020.
We did.
So I just want to give that reassurance for everybody listening that not only do we need you to go out and vote this election, we need you to serve. We need you to volunteer in some capacity and actually participate in the process, because the reason we got to where we were in 2020 was actually because Americans stopped participating in the process, right? Like, we the people run the government doesn't run us. And so when we delegate the duty of running election and we stop providing that citizen oversight of our elections, that's where things start to go wrong. And so the more people we have all across the country becoming poll workers, becoming election workers, showing up for the logic and accuracy testing that they do for the voting machines, and just knowing your election laws and procedures, this is going to make a huge difference in November.
It's so interesting because things have been so bad. However, it's mobilizing people. So a lot of the time when things aren't going well, you see people sort of retract and not want to be involved. But I feel like now there's a major surge in people who are mobilized right now, motivated. Everyone has their one issue that they sort of vote based on right now. It's immigration, the economy. What do you see as the main issue overall? What do you think is the most important issue right now?
For voters?
Yeah, voter turnout. Or activity, people becoming involved that previously weren't.
I would just say national security and that encompasses everything from the border, the open borders, to your ability to get food for your family, your ability to get health care. All of these things come under your ability, your safety as a family unit. And the people that we elect in charge, put in charge, are supposed to protect those things. They're supposed to protect our ability to supply, energy to our homes and provide food to our families and a safe place to allow our kids to go out into the community. We're not seeing that right now, and it's like a 1,000-front war, but it all stems from the current leadership that we have in power. So if I would say anything is the top issue, it's just the national security of America, because we have leaders in power that are basically selling out our country to foreign influence.
Now you mentioned those in power right now. They're extremely unpopular, while at the same time you have President Trump, who's extremely popular within his base. So it's sort of the perfect storm if you're a President Trump supporter. But let's say, for example, President Trump was not involved. Do you think the mobilization would be as high as it is right now, or do you think he is the difference maker in mobilizing people?
I think this is a populist movement. While I believe President Trump is the leader and he's front and center, you also have other leaders in this movement. Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson's a voice for liberty as far as the media goes. That's, rising. And I think if you take any one of those, Steve Bannon put it really well in his recent interview with Tucker, and he said, this is a populist movement. If they take one of us out, it's next man up. And I don't think you can really, it's not about Trump, it's not about Tucker, it's not about Steve Bannon, it's about what makes America great, and that's freedom and liberty. And we're seeing a rise in tyranny, and this is what's causing,
They're angry.
And this is what's causing the rise of Americans right now. And it's not just on the right, it's the left, it's the center, it's the libertarians. Everyone's coming together for the traditional American values, and that's liberty and freedom.
Now, people talk so much about division in this country. I personally don't see it, but I want to get your take, because I see division if you turn on mainstream media or if you focus on people who hate one side or the other. But when you look at the issues, I don't see anybody who supports what's currently going on. Do you sense the same thing, that there's a sense of unity in opposing Joe Biden?
I do think that, 4 years ago, it was probably a lot more divided. And I think when the propaganda media first started pushing a lot of their narratives, they did a good job at the time of dividing America, but propaganda is based in lies and deception, and you can only get away with that for so long. So what we've seen over the last few years is really like a cultural shift. A lot of people waking up to the reality is the lies. You know, you have things like the Hunter Biden laptop, which they claimed was Russian disinformation, and then all of a sudden now they're walking it back. You had the stuff with the COVID pandemic, Fauci emails coming out. It's like all these different things that the media said one thing at one point in time, changed their story. Americans saw that, and a lot of them, even in my own family, have woken up to these things and are now backing Trump, who 4 years ago they were singing a totally different story. So I think there's a lot more unity in America today than ever before, and it's all behind Trump.
No, I agree with that completely, because they talk so much about how the media doesn't really represent the people, but they do have the microphone, and they're constantly talking about how President Trump is such a divisive figure. But if you think about it, everybody pretty much loved what was going on while he was president, policy-wise. And at the same time, you just mentioned all the things that were covered up, Fauci, the Hunter Biden laptop. It's amazing that we're sort of right in that election season again while it's all being exposed the other way. How big of an impact do you think that will have on this election, where all the things that were lied about years ago, now they're being brought to the forefront?
I mean, I think they've already lost the information war. I think we're winning the information war right now, and I think a lot of that, I give glory to God, because this is truly a spiritual war that we're facing. I mean, you have to have a country of morality.
Right.
And you think, where do you get your morals from? And some of the stuff we're seeing, the people behind this, there's incompetence, there's ignorance, and then there's pure evil. And there are a lot of evil people within our own government, and I think that's causing people to really realize that they want to be on the right side of history, and they're, all coming together. I mean, it's horrific, some of the things that have happened. But I think coming into November, they've lost the information war. People see what they're doing to Steve Bannon. They see what they're doing to even Alex Jones, trying to take control of his social media. Things like free speech, these are fundamental concepts of what made America the place everyone fleeing communism wanted to come to. And now we see that those very principles are under attack, and Americans are not going to stand for it.
And just a couple years ago even, you wouldn't have been talking so much, maybe some, but it wasn't good and evil. It was maybe a little more radical left Democrat and Republican, but now so much of what they do, there's no explanation for it. There's no party that benefits from a lot of what they're doing. So it's really inarguable now that it is evil. Why do you think it is that they are operating in ways that hurt them politically? Is it just pure evil? That's what they're motivated by? What do you think the reason is?
I think because they're evil, right? They engage in things like deception, manipulation. They don't have remorse. And the people that are involved in this, they're losing, but they were winning for a while. Let's be honest, they won for a while. And I think a lot of Americans in 2020, we all knew what happened. We knew that the election was stolen. I can say that firsthand as someone that was on the ground covering the recounts and things like that. But I think when God needed it to happen that way in order to wake up more people that they had grips on. And so sometimes we as man want things to go a certain way, but God's way is the only way, and God is greater than government, which is why I'm so confident these people's days are numbered, because we've got it in the back, because we're still one nation under God, and that's what's most important.
Such a great message. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you.